Have you ever seen The Impossible? No, not those nasty ass bean, soy product, veggie burger.
Disgusting!
Eat the red stuff. Absolutely. But no, I'm talking about a movie that came out about 10 years ago called The Impossible, starring Naomi Watts and a young Tom Holland. It starts off pretty lovely, a family going on vacation at a resort, everyone's chilling, having a good time, and then in came the Eren Yeager rumble, and the wind starts to get very, very violent. And then, whoosh, tsunami, and the family split apart. Tragedy. Buildings are destroyed, debris is floating and flying everywhere, bodies floating around. It's gnarly stuff. And that gnarly stuff is going, guess what? All over the world, in the world of One Piece, because of a few good men, the Gorosei, the five elders, and their dear leader, Emu. Yay! Destruction worldwide, 6 days after Lulusia Kingdoms. That's scary stuff. But I think it's necessary stuff for understanding things that affect the Straw Hat crew directly and potentially the end game of the series One Piece. So take out your textbooks, some pen, and start scribbling down some notes because Oda has begun to open the floodgates. No pun intended here. Saddle up! One meter, which is approximately 3.28 feet. This is the sea level rising globally as a result of the events of 1060, the eradication of the Lulusia Kingdom. And it's in the latest chapter of One Piece, chapter 1089, where the five elders, well, I guess technically four since Jay is already at Agate Island, the elders talk to York, and Sanji's uncle, Shepard, talks to York about the Mother Flame and how they want another taste, another hit of the Mother Flame. And FYI, it's now officially Mother Flame, not Mother Frame. So it looks like, in this case here, the scans were on the up and up, and the official had to catch up. Now, York mentions a power plant on the island that creates the Mother Flame, and the scans have a translation note that indicates that the kanji for this power plant can be read as fusion reactor. So in my mind is now reacting to the fusion reactor, and I'm going like, whoa, because that stimulated the mind like five gum. Oh yeah.
Pepperminted cools as you chew. New 5 gum.
Woo! We were stimulated. Though when I think about it, a lot of you cats probably already seen Oppenheimer, which is, by the way, is a great movie, like a 9 out of 10. But you think of the word nuclear or reactor, it's like, oh my god, what? Like,
Calm down, bro!
Nuclear fusion is different than nuclear fission. Nuclear fusion, nuclear fission. Fusion, fission. Fusion, fission. Where basically nuclear fission is what we see in that film when it comes to nuclear weapons. Nuclear fusion is something that we're still trying to achieve successfully, repeatedly in today's day and age when it comes to net energy gain. And at a pretty low level, the atomic level, fusion is when you take lighter atoms and then you combine them together, and then in that process, you get heavier atoms, and then you have energy creation through that process. That is fusion. Fission is taking a neutron, and then you bombard a larger atom with that neutron, and then that large atom splits apart, and that is fission. Though to be frank, I do like them both, but that's just me. But it's this me that was also keeping an eye on information throughout the entirety of Agate Island, not just about the technology and the greatness and the insanity of Agate Island with the tech, but also energy, something we all need. And I've talked about these things in numerous reviews and topic videos and theory videos as of late. I even did a video last month talking about fire. We have Luffy and the Crimson Fire in his hands, because I suspect that these recent reveals directly affect Manga Jesus Luffy, but I'll get to that later on in the video. Right now, the key thing here is this. In chapter 1065, satellite body Lilith, she is guiding the Straw Hats up to the main lab, and they're getting all souped up and hyped up for an escalator. And when Frankie asked her, what's powering this? Here came the heavy hitter. Let me get my fan out real quick. Woohoo! Because it's gonna get real spicy. She says, and I quote, "The island's power source is fire. Fire can be converted to all types of energy." Then later on she says, "I thought if only there were such a thing as an undying flame, we could create our own sun." Once again. Whoa! Whoa! Fire! The idea of creating your own sun, a genuine star, is a gnarly, radical idea. And that got every neuron in my brain activated. Not in a lewd way, but in a very curious and observant way. Like, wait a minute, hold on, time out. Seriously? Your own son. And I'm taking that quite literally, and there's a good reason for that. Now, if the scans are correct, and the kanji for the power plant can be read as a fusion reactor, aka a nuclear reactor, then this fire that quote-unquote powers the entirety of Egghead Island, which also power the object above the Lucia Kingdom, ladies and gentlemen, these things were powered by nuclear fusion. Ha! Yes! Nuclear fusion! Ha! Nuclear fusion. And I love it. The reason why we gotta pull that ha is because, actually, two things. Number one is that fusion reaction is what powers the core of stars, the very titanic objects in space and time that irradiate and illuminate the cosmos around them, that make us who we are. As people say, we are the culmination of stardust. That's what we are. Praise the sun, old school Dark Souls style. Praise the sun, because the sun makes us who we are. Second thing is that there's some good news actually here, where a few days ago, US scientists did achieve another net energy gain via fusion reaction. Back to energy. If you don't know, you know. Fusion is what goes on in the center of stars. And one of the most critical things needed to achieve successful fusion is extremely high temperatures. In stars, it's at starting at 15 million degrees Celsius or 27 million degrees Fahrenheit, where atoms, the lighter atoms, start to collide and form heavier atoms, hence that fusion process. So it's very, very, considering how it can illuminate so much of the cosmos, yeah, it's a very, very important power energy source, a very powerful energy source. Though because it's all happening in the center of stars, it's a bit different here when it comes to density and mass and gravity compared to labs on planet Earth. So on planet Earth, nuclear fusion reactors compensate with much higher temperatures. We're talking about 150 million degrees Celsius or 270 million degrees Fahrenheit. And that is all supposedly going down on Egghead Island, which is crucial, not just for Egghead Island, but also potentially for Monkey D. Luffy. Extreme temperature. There are three things of note here, but I'm gonna give you two in this section, and the third one I'll save for later. But the two things of note here, Number 1, the power of the weapon Imu and the 5 elders fired on the Lulusia Kingdom. Once again, we know as a result of this 16 death ray barrage, the sea level rose all over the world by 1 meter, and tsunamis were spawning everywhere like Call of Duty players in a team deathmatch lobby. How can this be possible from one attack? Well, there is some we've seen before kind of do something similar but on a much smaller scale, and that person is Whitebeard. At Marineford, Whitebeard was Studley, and he starts off by punching the air and making tsunamis that literally go above the clouds before they're frozen by Thing here is this. He used the quake ability to form these tremendously large and powerful sea quakes that created those tsunamis in the first place. Sea quakes typically are taking place at the ocean floor. So it is very, very, very likely that when they destroyed the Lulusia Kingdom, these 16 death rays did not just go down to the ocean floor. So let's say down to, Fishman Island levels. They went well beyond that. Since this was a global earthquake. This is orders of magnitude vastly more impressive and on a vastly larger scale than anything Whitebeard has ever done. Now, it's been a minute since I've done geology, so I had to go back and read a few things here and there. And as far as I understand it, you have these subducting plates and then you have these overriding plates. The subducting plates are only the overriding plates, and then that tension between the two plates can sometimes lead in these ruptures that create a lot of energy, hence tsunamis. So you just have to imagine just how potent these lasers could be to force this reaction, these tsunamis, on a global scale. The temperature of these beams could be rivaling the very power source, the nuclear fusion power source, the mother flame power source that powers this object in the sky. And maybe, if, not too sure, but this could be the reason why Enies Lobby also has this sort of weird geographical situation. There is an important difference. And no, oddly enough, it's not the landmass over the whole Enies Lobby. It's like, how'd that happen? No, actually tied to one of the monikers of Enies Lobby, which is known as the Nightless Island. Enies Lobby never sees nighttime. It's always day in Enies Lobby. That was stated in chapter 374 and 375. How? Given the natural rotation of the planet, how is it possible for an island to always experience daylight? I'll get there real soon. Number 2 is what we already know about Egghead Island itself, the massive temperature differential. The country is supposed to be a strong winter island according to Nami in chapter 1060, the very same chapter that Imu rained down the death rays. However, the island itself, we get there and it's quite tropical with massive palm trees and not a single speck of snow anywhere. The warm eddy we also see in that same chapter is so massive that it's actually rising well above the water's surface before Zoro cuts it in half. So Nami was shook because in order to make a warm eddy of that scale and reach that length, that high up above the water surface, the temperature differential somewhere nearby under the sea, that differential must be massive. It's gotta be titanic to create a warm eddy of that caliber. It has to be. And what we know, simply put, is that there is something called the island AC, where they're able to change the weather and the temperature of the island. That's why the waters nearby Egghead Island are so wonky. Where en route, it's frozen. Even like sea kings or sea beasts, even they were getting frozen over. But when we actually get there, it's pretty warm. And now we very likely know that the power source to initiate all of this is nuclear fusion. Yes. This is probably the reason why Vegapunk's home island of Baltimore, the place where Frankie was sent to during the time skip, that place failed at its island AC, and it remained a winter island because they probably didn't have the proper energy, something like nuclear fusion. You can see how once Vegapunk had nuclear fusion, I mean, like, the sky was the limit. And they have done and created so much on Egghead Island. It's absurd. They have anti-gravity tech. Because the power source is so great, it can be converted into damn near anything. That is another point that Lilith talks about in 1065. And this ultimately through One Piece is the reason why in the real world we value the theory and the possibility of achieving net energy gain on a regular basis with nuclear fusion. However, oh, there's always a however. King Lightning, another section? Yes. Because the reality is, despite Vegapunk's greatness, he's still the silver medalist winner, not the gold.
懐かしいな。さすがに5年出てみると。冬島、NES ロビー。
Vegapunk is tremendously impressive. He really is. But Vegapunk is not at the level of the ancient kingdom. And this is where we tie back in to Enies Lobby and point number 3 in the past section, which involves Monkey D. Luffy. But we're not gonna focus on the Nika just yet. We'll focus on another Nika, Shaka. Shaka Zulu! Shaka!
What do you mean by that?
Shaka, in chapter 1065, tells Frankie the truth about the tech on the island. In the past, there was a country that existed like this one 900 years ago before the Void Century. However, it is likely not the truth. Even though Egghead Island is the future island, that's 500 years out, they're not caught up from 900 years ago. They're still lagging behind at least another 400 maybe, because it is admitted by Shaka in 1067 that 900 years ago, they had a dynamic power source, a power source that was strong enough to rewrite everything they knew about the world today. This power source was so studly that even though the Vegapunk Shaka had mimicked the Vega Force 1 to this legendary Iron Giant that we see in the Junkyard Heap area of Egghead Island, they could not completely duplicate it because of the difference in energy. This right here is a crazy proposition because they already have the Mother Flame. The Mother Flame, which is probably nuclear fusion related. The things that power stars. But what the ancients had was potentially better? Then this is probably relating to what? The undying flame that Lilith talks about at the beginning of 1065. If Enies Lobby, way back when, had its own Lucia Kingdom event, and that's why it's the way it is today. But the key differences between the two locations and why one is always sunny like in Philadelphia, and the other one seems to mimic an average day in London could be simply put because of the power source. It was the same, let's say the same exact object that was above Lucia Kingdom that a long time ago was above Enies Lobby. But one is powered via Mother Flame and the other one powered by Undying Flame. That would be the cornerstone difference here as to why Enies Lobby would be Nightless and why Lucia Kingdom right now at least is not. There is another option, which is also fun too. Which also involves sun. If let's say the ancients could genuinely make their own star, sun, then what if something is above Enies Lobby in some capacity and it's acting like a constant sun in that area, which is why Enies Lobby is always under daylight. An unironic artificial sun was there, we just couldn't see it. We just couldn't see it. If you don't know, 3 months ago in China, they actually did achieve a world record by maintaining and confining extremely hot plasma for 7 minutes. And it's known as China's artificial sun. They broke a world record for this. And it was created via thermonuclear fusion reactors. Mother flames, not undying ones. Hello? Just the terminology alone, the idea of the undying flame, the idea of a nightless island where it's always undyingly sunny. if it's not related to, let's say, the awakening of the Glint fruit user, Kizaru's fruit user, way back when, then this could also be another option. There's something there. We haven't tackled that just yet because Oda's saving that for the right time, the right place, the right moment. That is also in the cards. If it can't be achieved with Devil Fruit, it can be achieved with tech. That is how busted the tech is in the world of One Piece. And speaking of Devil Fruit, here slides in number 3. After diving into this topic fully, I once again found myself thinking about what the hell did Luffy do at the end of 1049 when he beat Kaido. People rag on Oda because Oda in the past said he wouldn't have Kaido be defeated by a punch. And technically, in a roundabout way, Oda is kind of correct. It's not really a punch that beats Kaido. It's a flaming punch. Whoa! It's a flaming punch that beats Kaido. In fact, Luffy's whole body, which is nuts considering the size of the Bajran gun, but Luffy's whole body combusts flame on mode. And when he does, he actually blows apart the jaw of Kaido's flame drum dragon. I mean, just think about that. Kaido's flame drum dragon is intense, but Luffy's flame on form was able to beat that and ideally beat it in temperature when the flame drum dragon instantly melted one of the horns. Like it was nothing, just gone. Something is up, yo. Something is up with Luffy, and probably one of the major purposes, core reasons why he is the Sun God Devil Fruit ability user. One of the things that makes it so mysterious is that this ability, the human fruit model Nika, is modeled after a One Piece specific deity. What does it mean to be a Sun God in the world of One Piece? When you think about all of these attacks based on fire, the Red Hawk, the Red Rock, Luffy beats Kaido with essentially that. But it's like the highest degree of potential fire possible that you could achieve in the world of One Piece, allegedly. And right now, nuclear fusion is on the table, but we already know that's not the best thing. What did Vegapunk say when he saw Luffy and Rob Lucci fight? He talked about the idea of these powers coming from a whole different plane of existence. When you think about the idea of an undying flame, it seems quite fantastical, as if it can be possible without being from another plane of existence. Man, I can only go so far because only Oda would know the true scope of what a sun god in One Piece could do. It has a rubbery body. Why? Because Oda. You can't really dive into myth and legends and lore, like let's say dive into the Caribbean Joy Boy, or the Sun God Ra, or the Greek Icarus. You can't really do that, because it's Nika. We are talking about not just Luffy's abilities for the future, but potentially what could happen in the end game of the story. What is Vegapunk's dream? Vegapunk's dream ties to infinite energy, abundant energy, that exists for all people everywhere across the planet, that anyone could freely tap into. That sounds like infinite energy to me. And the closest thing to that would be an undying flame. Would it be surprising if at some point in this arc, Luffy is able to tap into this fire stuff, and then he's able to power up this legendary Iron Giant, and that, my friends, would be his ticket and his cruise ticket from this current predicament. And then when we take a massive L in front of this gigantic Iron Titan and Luffy on his shoulder laughing maniacally. Woo! There's a lot. Man, there is a lot. And I absolutely said a lot. But there is one last thing, just one last thing on the final note. Right now, I think there's a good chance that this object above Lucia Kingdom is not ancient weapon Uranus. In the same vein as, let's say, the robot that tried to assault the Holy Land 200 years ago. I can see this thing, this object above the kingdom being in the same vein. Another sort of machine that was made a long time ago. By these ancient people, powered by the same power source of this Iron Giant. In a lesser way, Mother Flames. But its best power source, undeniably, Undying Flames. And honestly, when it does come to Ancient Weapon Uranus, I'm looking at Elbaf. I'm looking at Elbaf. Right now, another video, another day. Let me know your stance on this subject. If you enjoyed this long video, then give your boy a thumbs up, absolutely. Subscribe to the channel and double tap subscribe to click on the bell to join the notification squad. I'm gonna catch you cats on the flip side.
See you.